Yet another problem with electric vehicles has appeared, and this one, yet again, is simply because of the nature of EV charging. If you want to charge faster, you must have more power. It's as simple as that. A regular petrol or diesel filler hose and nozzle is fairly lightweight and is easily manoeuvred even if you are living with a physical disability. But if you drive an EV and want a fast charge, the cable required to do so will inevitably be extremely heavy because of the amount of copper that's required to carry that electricity. And some of those charging cables even include conduits for cooling as well, just adding to the ungainliness of the whole process. And this issue is causing difficulties for drivers with disabilities. An irony in itself, given that in the UK, a large proportion of EVs are sold via the Motability scheme to drivers with disabilities. Welcome back to MGUY, British engineer and lawyer, now Sydney-based YouTuber. If you'd like to support this channel and display your anti-EV credentials to your Tesla-owning neighbours at the same time, why not buy some awesome MGUY merchandise, like this mug, this baseball cap, or this t-shirt. Each high-quality item sports the MGUY No EVs sign, and they're all made to order, perfect for irritating the hell out of your local EV zealots. Visit store.mguy.tv or click the link in the description to check out the full range of products. And of course, you can always just buy me a coffee. Click the link in the description or scan the QR code on screen. EVs are big business for Motability, like billions of pounds big. Bloomberg reported on this back in March, and the figures are quite astonishing. An unlikely £7 billion giant is cornering Britain's car market. Motability bought one of every 5 new cars sold in the UK last year, and yet it only exists to serve a very specific type of customer, people claiming mobility benefits. When customers ask for a specific model at Umesh Samani's used car dealership in Stoke-on-Trent, he knows exactly where to go. He'll most likely find it at a supplier that started to dominate the UK auto market of late, a business that bought one of every 5 new cars sold in the country last year and whose revenue rose to near £7 billion, that's $8.9 billion. Motability Operations Group plc looks at first glance like a normal company. Its HQ is in a gleaming City of London skyscraper. It has just become one of Britain's biggest corporate borrowers. It even sparked outrage over fat cat pay a few years back. And yet it exists to serve a very specific type of customer, people on mobility benefits looking for a cheaper way to get a vehicle. As the number of Brits on sickness and disability support has rocketed in recent years, so have Motability's sales. It uses its heft to buy new models in bulk, then leases them to claimants, usually for 3 years, before selling them on to trainers like Samani. That has made it the UK's leading car fleet operator and helped skew the market away from private buyers and sellers. And naturally, the company has been keen to encourage drivers into EVs, probably as a result of pressure from the government to achieve its mad net zero agenda. I've had viewers write to me to recount how Motability had made it very difficult for them to buy a regular combustion engine car, and instead they had been almost forced to buy an electric vehicle, even if it wasn't the best option for them, particularly in respect of charging availability. And this issue was in the media very recently, only a month or so ago. Disabled drivers send back taxpayer-funded EVs because they can't charge them. Disabled people are being left behind in the transition to electric vehicles, EVs, the government has been warned. The lack of accessible charging is so serious that EVs are even being handed back to the taxpayer-funded scheme that leases out new cars to claimants in exchange for disability benefits money. Unusable public charging points are a stain on the industry, campaigners said, calling on ministers to force manufacturers to do better. Graham Footer, Chief Executive of Disabled Motoring UK, said the problem was holding back the UK's transition away from petrol and diesel dependence. Members of the campaign group have returned EVs to Motability Operations, the company that leases cars in exchange for personal independence payments, PIP, said Footer. The campaigner does not blame Motability, instead directing responsibility towards charge point operators, CPOs, who run the public infrastructure. There are a lot of people who want to hand EVs back because they can't find an accessible charging point or are having difficulty using charging points, he said. It's not Motability's fault, but there is this major problem with public charging. It's a stain on the wider EV industry. Well, yeah, it's not Motability's fault, but at the same time, if Motability makes it difficult for drivers to purchase a regular combustion car, they cannot avoid some responsibility for exacerbating this problem. It should be offering the best vehicle for the particular driver, whether that be electric or combustion. And now another problem has become a concern for drivers with disabilities, namely the sheer weight and the cumbersome nature of EV fast charging cables. Ultra-rapid chargers risk excluding disabled drivers, warns EVA England. A survey by EVA England found that ultra-rapid chargers have heavier cables than slower chargers and therefore cause issues for disabled motorists. A report by EVA England has found that 51% of disabled electric vehicle EV drivers find ultra-rapid chargers difficult to use. EVA England's cable weight survey found that ultra-rapid chargers with speeds of up to 350 kilowatts have heavier cables than slower chargers and therefore cause issues for disabled motorists. 21% of non-disabled EV drivers also struggled with ultra-rapid chargers, while 53% of disabled EV drivers report at least some difficulty using rapid chargers with speeds of up to 50 kilowatts. Vicky Edmonds, Chief Executive at EVA England, said the UK's EV rollout is a major success story, but for over 1 million drivers with disabilities, it risks becoming one of exclusion. Heavy charging cables make public EV charging difficult or impossible for many. If we don't prioritise accessibility now, we're locking millions of people out of electric driving for years, possibly even decades. Nigel Fletcher, Chief Executive at the Motability Foundation, said there is a serious risk of disabled people being left behind in the rollout of public EV charge points, an issue which we have been raising at the Motability Foundation for a number of years. From our own research, we know that heavy charging cables are one of the key barriers to accessible public charging. And this new report from EVA England highlights how significant an issue this is. And the results of the survey show how challenging it can be to manage the sheer bulk of fast charging cables. Participants in the survey said they needed to ask strangers for help with charging cables and felt physical strain as well as a risk of falling. A respondent said, "Several times I've almost overbalanced with the weight of the cable. I needed to ask for help a few weeks ago at a services." Another said, "My wife is disabled and could currently not manage any rapid or ultra-rapid cables at all." It's pretty shocking. If you're a disabled driver and you do not have the luxury of off-street parking where you can charge your EV overnight, you should not be forced into an electric vehicle and therefore be fully reliant on public charging. If you're unable to manage the weight of the rapid chargers, which at least provide charging in under an hour, you will be relegated to slow AC chargers and your charging time will be multiplied several times over, meaning several hours at least. This is simply unfair and completely impractical. It's just another example of how government's simplistic one-size-fits-all approach to electrification just does not work. If you ignore all the other downsides to EVs, and there are plenty of those, they may have a role to play in a future energy mix. But disabled drivers without the convenience of off-street parking and charging should be allowed to continue to purchase combustion cars. Otherwise, forcing them into electric cars does not make their lives easier, it makes them far harder. Thanks very much for watching, really hope you enjoyed it. If you've got any tips or stories, go there. If you'd like to watch another video, go there. If you'd like to buy me a coffee, go there, and please subscribe to the channel.